Welcome everyone to UDYAM 2025, the first of its edition. I think we have worked on an internal workshop earlier in our previous years, but since last 1.5 years, this kind of an workshop have been kept on hold for a lot of events that we were working on, a lot of streamlining that has happened. So from this time onwards, we'll have it added in the calendar. We'll make sure that we are working on it every year during January and February month, and we have a proper exposure to the day in day out activities for a basic software developer or anyone who works in corporate or any job at all. So there will be a lot of understanding that is needed, but that is only possible if you are asking questions. So the one and only goal of this entire workshop is to make sure you come out and talk. Keeping silent, catching, we need to catch you folks for asking questions and stuff. That's not going to happen. We really want people to raise hands and talk about things. This is internal. This is something where we are giving extra focus, and the college has been informed about this, and they have been requesting such a thing for the entire college. However, we are starting this focused uh, training or focused workshop from today onwards for SPECANCIEN members, and going forward we'll work with college students as well, the other folks at college, a helpful tool in our day-to-day life. Then we'll talk about Jira as a tool, as a project management tool, just a little bit basics around it, and then we'll talk about business communication. So the first session would be about agile, the agile methodology, and that would be taken care by Shireesh. Okay, so Shireesh is our the president, and he is also he also works at AT&T, and he has been in the industry since like last 11 and a half years, and he understands that why do we need agile and how agility is helping projects reach faster to the customers and serve them better. So Sirish, over to you. I'll be just going away from my camera, and let me quickly, switch back to the presentation. And at any time you want me to change this slide, Sirish, you can always just say it up, next slide, and I'll move it. Okay, I'll be sharing the screen for you today. Over to you, Sirish.
Yep. So, good evening, folks. Hope I'm audible. I mean, well audible, right? So, if somebody is having problem hearing me, then it's better to raise your hand or do some gesture which can be understandable. But if there's nothing, I'll assume that I'm fully audible for you. So yeah. So to the buzzword, can anybody tell me what is agile very quickly? What's the meaning of agile? You must have heard this word a lot of times earlier. Just quickly, like meaning of agile. Anybody?
It provides a basic roadmap for a project to work in a coordination for a team.
Okay, that is the more like a technical meaning, but I was more what's like general meaning of agile. Yeah. Anyway, so I answered the question while subconsciously speaking about it. It actually means to move quickly and easily. So I was asking you guys to answer quickly. That exactly means I'm asking you to be agile. So that's what agile is for. And yeah, like Srinija pointed out, in terms of project management and the technical aspects of it, that's the meaning. Uh, yeah, Ajay. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right. So a brief history for agile. So here it's mentioned 2001, which is actually right, but software development, it more like it started during the 1970s. So back then also there were some methodologies which were like closer to agile, but they were not coined. But agile, I mean, like agile as a manifesto was coined as a term in 2001, to be exact, in February, the month that we are in right now. So that's like 14 years ago. Oh, not 14, sorry, 24 years ago. 24 years ago, agile was coined as a term and was being used extensively later. So you see here, it says that 17 different people met together to coin this term. Because they had diverse backgrounds, they had experience on various concepts that are listed out here. So all of them came together, discussed, and they thought that these concepts should be uh, made official in terms of software development or project management. So they came up with these concepts. These concepts are actually in agile, and they are called methodologies. So in fact, what we are doing at SPECANCIENS actually is closer to crystal. To be more specific, that is crystal orange, I believe. Akshay, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, where if I remember, we have a bunch of 20 to 30 people, and we are split according to skills, the departments that we have in SPECANCIENS. So based on your skill sets, we are functional in that department, and getting the work done together by putting different sorts of efforts. So actually, we are following the crystal methodology here, but there are again more to this, which we will discuss in detail when we get a chance again. Yeah. Next slide. Yep. So I hope you all know what a manifesto means. Can anybody tell what a manifesto? I mean, you must have heard this word a lot of times from politicians. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope.
Written statement, something like officially, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, more like a written statement officially to fulfill a promise, basically. So they give that manifesto so that it is out for public to see and decide on what they are promising and whether that will benefit them or not. So in the same way, the Agile Manifesto here is more the official things that uh, the the team, or the more like the team which follows the methodology. So that way, here, more like when you develop software, so it says that you value the individuals and interaction over the process and tools. This again crystal only, I believe. So working software over documentation, collaboration over negotiation, and responding to change over a plan. So these things, I mean, the meaning of agile actually comes out here, that you're ready to adapt, to ready to change, ready to take challenges, and make sure that the entire thing that you're working on is actually efficient, and when it comes out in the in the user, or let's say the business, it all is working together. So when you value these concepts, that's where you can call yourself agile, is what this slide means. You can go to next slide. Right. So these are principles. You know, for the manifesto, I think there are like more than say more than what is visible here. So I'll quickly go through them. So early and continuous delivery of valuable software. If you make that your priority when when you're working tomorrow, in the software development, or wherever you go in the corporate sector, agile applies everywhere. So when you make that your priority, it's obviously that the customer or client that you're working with obviously gets happy, satisfied with what we are doing. Then welcoming change requirements, even though it is late in development. Yeah, this is actually a biased thought, because there are a lot of people who don't agree to that, but because it is agile, Agile welcomes you to do such things, take it as a challenge, because, the utmost priority is that, the user or the business stakeholders are satisfied with what we are doing, no matter what methodology we are following. So, when you welcome those requirements, I mean, it should not be like, tomorrow there is a release as in there is a deployment, that your code is being pushed to a production environment where the production is accessed by the business. So it should not be like tomorrow there is a release and today a user wants a change. That can't happen. But let's say, these words will come later, but let's say you're on a sprint and you know you're 7 or 10 days later in the sprint. This was never brought up, this requirement, and suddenly on the 11th day the user says that I want this requirement and this is very urgent. I think you should be able to accommodate because you still have some days left and you know whether it can be tackled or not. So in most cases you need to be able to tackle it, and that's the beauty, of Agile. So, and deliver working software frequently. Yes. So, it should not look like a pile of, code or something waiting for 6 months to, get it to the user. It should not be that. I mean, you should not wait for a lot of things to push together. Instead, when something's working, when you have decided that, yeah, we'll complete this and this is working, that's it. Push it to the user for testing and get it done as soon as possible. So and business people and developers work together daily throughout the project. Yes, that is, and this is more of collaboration and communication, which if we don't do, obviously the work gets tough there. Build project around motivated individuals. Yeah, motivation is the key when you're working in a team. I mean, you guys know that very well because we are a large team here. Somebody is not motivated, obviously they lose interest, and all the principles that we have to follow will not come in place, will not fall in place. So motivation is necessary when you're doing Agile. Then yeah, like obviously the effective method of conveying information is face to face. Yeah, in the modern times, most of the meetings they happen online. I mean, some of, for example, in my case, the people that I work with every day, I haven't seen them in person yet. I mean, like, because they sit in United States, they have never been to India, or I have never been to United States. So it's not, sometimes it doesn't really is feasible that you every time have a face to face. But the more face to face conversations you have, the more understanding, the more collaboration happens. So it's more encouraged that you have that. But in a case where you can't do it, or it's tough to do it, then we have to stick to virtual, obviously. Next slide, actually. Right. So working software is primary measure of progress. The statement, it's kind of self-explanatory. If it is not working, obviously nobody is happy about it. You can't say that we have progressed with this development when it is not working. So it has to work. It has to give out results. It has to make an impact. So that is only when people or the leadership will tell you that you have made great progress on such task, right? So agile process promotes sustainable development. Yep. So what is, I mean, basically what is sustainability, and mostly we heard hear this term in environment factors, but yeah, what is sustainability? Can anybody tell again? Either you don't know or you're afraid to speak. But if you don't know, then you have to think about your position in SPECANCIENS.
Well, I think sustainability. Srinija, I think you are unmuted. Will you please talk?
If you don't talk, I'll pick name by name. I know everybody's name with initials, so don't think that Like Shireesh is very busy and he doesn't know our name. Somit, can you tell me what is sustainability?
It's kind of long lasting. How
Long
long will it
lasting.
last?
Okay. Uh, yeah, it's partially, I would say, but sustainability is more of you know using the minimal amount of resources to get something done. You know, the the factors where it's harmful for something, or in terms of agile it's more like time and effort, but in environment it is the nature, it's the air quality, that kind of thing. So you know
Hmm.
so agile obviously promotes sustainable development because everybody comes together, works on something together, and less with less chaos, things are get done. So that's what it meant actually. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. Yes, that has to be there. I mean, this is again self-explanatory, so I don't need to repeat it. And yeah, simplicity. Uh, you know, this is again, I think this not just applies to somebody who is following Agile, this applies to everybody who is doing some work, irrespective of what domain they are in, irrespective of what, uh, you know, um, way of work they are doing. So, it says that, uh, the maximizing amount of work not done is essential. So, keep it simple is what the meaning is, that, you know, you just, whatever you have done, whatever you have not done, just keep it transparent rather than, hiding it. So that is what, simplicity is here. So best architecture requirements and design emerge from self-organizing teams. So this is again, I would quote an example, from our team only, because for me, what the team is doing, it's kind of like I said, it is, we are somehow following Agile unknowingly or knowingly, but we are doing it. So, if you don't, organize yourself, if you don't plan your work, if you don't, do all the stuff, then, you can't give out the best out of your department. Like, for example, you know, uh, reporting, let's say, for example. So reporting in the initial days versus what it is now, I would say, there has been a lot of change in that, So when you come together, when you organize yourself, you're organizing, for your templates, for your indentation, for your content, for your reviews, all that thing which, one step by step you're putting in place. That is exactly what, is self-organizing. So it says the best architecture requirements and design emerge. So, in reporting, I mean, those terms doesn't apply, but the best reports, I would say, is only because the team is becoming self-organized. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective and tunes adjusts its behavior accordingly. This is actually the retrospective meeting. What we had, in January, first week, I believe, after the event. This is what we discussed, right? I mean, we discussed on what went well, what went wrong. Then we discussed how we can improve things and how to, get done things efficiently next time. That is exactly what the last point is about. And next slide, actually. Right. So Scrum simple rules. Actually I kind of missed talking about Scrum in the first slide. So Scrum, it actually is derived from rugby, the game actually. Where Scrum means that, lots of multiple people come together, get the ball forward by whatever methods they use there, whether they kick, whether they hold it in hand, whether they throw it to some other teammate. But they get the ball forward to the post where you get the point. That is exactly what Scrum is, very derived from rugby. The players are these guys, the roles, the product owner, Scrum master, and the team. So these guys are like the rugby players, and they are following Scrum, and the ball is the entire project they are working on. So the product owner is more like a bridge between the business and the team. Okay, the product owner is the person who interacts with the business, gets the requirements, compiles them, ensures all the doubts are cleared, and then brings it to the team for work. So more like the term says, the owner. So the owner of that product, inside that agile methodology, that guy, or I'll not be guy, not say guy, but that person is the product owner. Scrum Master is more like a principal who overlooks everything. Oversee, not overlook, sorry, oversees. Overlooks is a bad term. Oversees everything, make sure that, and the entire team is on track based on the requirements provided by product owner, takes the updates from everybody, plans the velocity of that sprint, and, ensures that we are right on track and there is nothing that is in jeopardy when it comes to the work to get done. Uh, you know, then the team, like the team is composed of multiple people, where you have multiple skill sets, multiple roles. Like let's say in terms of a software development team, this is more like there is a manager, there is a team lead, then there are senior developers, junior developers, testers, analysts. All these people come under that team. So three major roles from the 353 rule that we have to follow to call ourselves that we are following the Scrum methodology in Agile. Then the 5 events that has to happen for every sprint. So first obviously is the sprint that you have to decide that it will start on this date, it will end on this date. That, which means the fixed duration. Obviously, when you call it a sprint, there will be tasks within that sprint that has to be worked on. Then sprint planning meeting. Sprint planning is actually a meeting, could be 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on the Scrum Master. So here they decide what needs to be done and how long it might take. The developers are also involved, testers are the whole team, basically the whole team, 3 roles, all of them are involved, and they plan how the sprint should be done, how many days of work this can happen, how many days of testing, how many days of user testing, everything. So then you have daily scrum. Daily scrum, as it says, this is more of daily scrum meeting, or let's say daily stand up, which right now I have missed because I needed to present here. So daily scrum, it happens daily, where the scrum master is the owner of this meeting, and looks over the updates and checks if we have to plan something, or the initial, I said, if there is a late requirement, that is what will be discussed. Mostly it should be like 10-15 minutes of updates, and then 15-20 minutes or maybe more for some roundtable discussions. Then after the sprint, there will be a sprint review meeting, where it's possible that the business stakeholders and all the team gets together, and there would be a possible demo plus a feedback to be taken, and which will be planned for the next sprint. Then there is a retrospective, where we follow this Kaizen methodology in the Agile, to check on what went well, what went wrong, stuff like that. So these are the events for every sprint, every sprint and Scrum. We have to follow these things. Then comes the artifact, the product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. So product backlog is like list of work needs to be done to deliver the product. That's what it says when vision and priorities. So you need to know what needs to be done to deliver the product. Then sprint backlog, it's like list of let's say goals, because it says known work and capacity. So goals and milestones, how fast you can do things to achieve those goals. You set a goal when you're starting the sprint, so sprint goal it's called. So whether we'll achieve that goal or not. Then comes product increment, where it means that the recent version of project, the product, it's the amount of work that was done, and there is definition of done also, where people set. I mean, it again varies from team to team, where definition of done, they only mark the task done when the definition of done. They'll have some check criteria, more like a checklist. So they will mark it done only when those points are uh, met. Yeah, next slide, actually. Yeah, I got only 2 minutes because I have a meeting at 8:30 with my lead. So quick questions, or if something that I can't answer, I think Akshay can take it up.
Yeah, Shireesh, thanks for that. I mean, I know squeezing time between our office meetings is difficult. I'm also parallelly on another call, but that's fine. That's totally fine. Thanks for making time. The moment you feel that there is another call coming in, you can drop. I'll take these questions. So I really want people to raise their hands, and let's start with questions one after another. Okay. So
Yeah, before
basically,
that,
we
Akshay,
spoke.
sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I was saying, yeah,
Uh,
thank you. Thank you for giving the opportunity to share the knowledge. I mean, it's like more like a brush up of the basics, which I really like sometimes. So thank you for this, and thank you for listening to me patiently, guys. But yeah, I would need to drop because this is a one-on-one meeting where I need to present again here. So there is no way I can mute and continue this meeting. So I'll see you guys on Saturday, team.
Thanks, Suresh.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank you,
much.
guys. Okay, bye.
All right.
Yep. Okay, bye.
Yes, Suresh, no worries. I'll take care. All right, team. So what we're gonna do is we'll have 10 minutes assigned for Q&A, and then we'll start off with the next segment. So I don't want to rush into things without getting any queries or any questions missed out. Okay. So first of all, would you like me to choose folks and ask them what they have understood, or would it be better, raise their hands and come forward and ask questions? So those are the two options. So let's have people asking questions now. Okay. Hi, hey Rimsha. Yeah. If you would like to come over video, you can do that. That will be helpful if it's possible.
It's not really possible right now, if that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah, Rimsha. Please go on with your question.
So my question is that how is this methodology incorporated in a corporate worker's day-to-day life? Like, as in, I mean, I understood the concept that it's kind of like a project management, but I still want to have a clarity at a deeper level that how is it incorporated in a day-to-day life?
Okay, Rimsha. Let's say you're planning for a trip. Let's say you're planning for a trip to Delhi, right? You will basically plan well ahead. You will think about what luggage to carry, what's your itinerary, what are the things you will carry. Like if you, let's say it's a 6 day trip, you'll definitely plan like what is the importance of each day for me, and according to that day you will plan your luggage. Right? It may be dresses, it may be occasions, it may be meetings that you're attending, it may be places that you're going. So according to that place, you'll be planning. Now, first of all, you will see what you have in your inventory already, right? That what all articles, things you have for this trip, and what you don't have, you'll plan to buy. You'll go for shopping and you'll buy. Now, once you have done all that, there will be another way. Sometimes people tend to pack things in a certain way that, according to day, they will take out things out of the bag, right? So they want to pack it in that order, or maybe they want to segregate different items into categories, right? Like clothes, like day wear, night wear, right? Something like that. So all that planning, all that segregation is happening in the mind, right? Given the project, a project is more of a larger size. It has more number of multiple tasks, right? If you talk about a trip, it may have, let's say, 10 tasks or 10 items to procure. But when you talk about project, it's on a larger scale. So that way, people tend to use Jira or Trello or other tools. People tend to use Agile as a methodology to plan their work. So coming back to the example of a trip, you want to understand, what's your plan with respect to luggage. What's your plan, like at what time you'll reach airport, and once you reach there, what will be your first plan of action? Would you be directly going to the hotel, to the accommodation, or you'll plan for going to a place, all that. And suddenly, let's say the flight timings have changed, right? You were planning to have, let's say you're planning to have dinner in a certain city, like once you reach there, but because of the delay, it's not going to be dinner, probably it's going to be the next morning breakfast. So somewhere you have to again replan your trip, and that is where you will note down things. You will talk about you know uh, what is going to change if you change your plan, or if you change your timings. So all that planning mostly happens in your mind, or you will be noting down things in your notepad within your phone. So all this planning, all this responding to change, right, all this being practical rather than documenting too much, doing all the calculation in your mind, is basically agile that you're applying. So agile is all based on the observance that a lot of industrialists and people from different fields have observed, and they then documented this manifesto, right? So Rimsha, in that way, basically you are doing agile on a day-to-day basis in your real life as well, but maybe not realizing it, right? I hope that answers your question, or if you have further connected question, you can definitely ask.
Right. I mean, I got my answer. Just a follow-up question.
Mhm.
Uh, do all the offices or all the workers use this, or is it like depending on their thing? I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
asking in the sense
Okay.
of day-to-day life. It's like in the sense of projects or in the sense of office life.
Yeah. See, Agile has a lot of methodologies which are embedded or derived out of it. Agile is just talking about a specific thought process. It's only talking about a specific mindset. Now, if you take all the elements of that mindset, you will create one methodology. If you take only some part of that mindset, you will create another methodology. And if you look at, let's say if we go back to our first slide, I think you know we have so many things: extreme programming, Scrum, dynamic system development, DSDM we call it. We have ASD, adaptive, and we have Crystal,
Yeah.
FDD, pragmatic programming. So all these things are different combinations of the manifesto or the values. Okay, these manifestos, some might have taken all the four values, or all the four these values, or some might have taken just two or three. So that way. So now you're coming back to your question. uh, yes, most of the industry, like around more than 75% of the industry, is using agile, different methodologies under agile. Now there is a traditional way of doing project, that is waterfall, like doing step by step. Now there is, if any change comes in, right, any change comes in the middle of the project, it's difficult to include that and go forward. You again have to go back to the first step, where you were procuring the requirements, understanding the requirements. Now you have to, with this new change, you have to again gauge everything else, like how is it going to affect my entire process. So waterfall model is still being used in a lot of places, given the project type, given how people want to work with things. Agile is mostly used because it gives results early, right? So we are talking about working software over comprehensive document. So that way we are trying to give customer the software in parts, and that is where exactly we give them something earlier in the process, so that they can review that, they can talk about it, and they can give us the feedback. So a lot of companies use that. Let's say you walk into Google Office, let's say you walk into Tech Mahindra, you walk into TCS, you will see a lot of projects using Agile in different shapes and form. There is something called Kanban, there is something called Scrum. Both of them follow the values or the manifesto of Agile, but they work in different ways. For example, Scrum is more applicable for software development. Kanban is more applicable to application maintenance or ticketing systems or call center activities. Rimsha?
Right. I understood. Thank you so much.
Thanks for asking those intricate questions. I mean, that might have really answered few more questions that other people may have. Yeah, others, we can take few more questions. Anyone else? Yes, Akshita.
Yes. So, what are few like challenges when a team tries to adapt this agile?
Okay, yeah, thanks for asking that, Akshita. See, major challenges that people face while adapting Agile, I would say first thing is a lot of names will get changed, right? Let's say you are working on a process, you have basic steps defined. First of all, let's say if you're cooking something, you'll plan like what items to procure, then you will have certain steps to be followed, right? You'll wash them, you'll cut them out, then you'll start with the cooking. Now, at the same time, if you go with Agile, Agile will first talk about what do we already have, you know, in the inventory. For example, there are certain vegetables which are already there available. There is certain spices that which are already available which you don't have to procure. So that classification and that understanding deeply happens in Agile. So when people tend towards Agile, right, they have to be really fast. Earlier in waterfall model, testing will not start until development is done, and development will not start until the entirety of the requirement has been thoroughly checked and thoroughly understood. Okay, but in Agile, you can start working with the requirement by breaking into small pieces. Let's say there is a requirement which you have broken into three pieces. The first two pieces you have understood. The third piece is still in discussion. Yet you can start the project, right? So in waterfall or traditional model, we don't have that. We have to make sure that the entire requirement itself is very much clear to start with the project. So the challenge is basically of mindset. People have to change from the mindset of, first I'll solve the entire problem or entire understanding issue or understanding gap with the requirement, and then only I'll start. With Agile, it doesn't happen in that way. We can start with bits and pieces. Now, second challenge is of continuous delivery or continuous integration. In traditional model, you will deploy your changes to the environment once you have done the entire development of a certain feature or a certain software. In Agile, you can do it even finer or smaller parts. Rather than the entire feature, you can integrate it on a component level, on a small function level as well. You can integrate. You can do as small changes as a simple date or a simple text, right? So once you do smaller changes continuously, you have to continuously keep on testing it in iterative manner, like continuous repetitive manner. That is where is the challenge. People have to shift from that mindset and from that slogginess or slowiness of waiting until development is done to test, and not deploying until the entire development is done. So in Agile, how we do it is there are 2 week of sprint. In those 2 weeks, that is 10 working days, excluding the weekdays, weekends. In those 10 working days, you have to develop the features or develop the requirements that has been committed. You have to make sure you have tested it thoroughly, and you have to make sure that you send it to the user for review. So it's a fast pace. The speed changes and it's iterative. Every 2 weeks, you are repeating the same thing, maybe for different requirements or different parts of the same requirement. So shifting from a slow process to a faster and repetitive process is challenging, and resourcing is also a challenge. A third challenge is having people with good experience and understanding of the process, having that much passion and understanding, okay, and that much expectations with the process, because we need high performing people in agile environment. We cannot have people who are waiting for things to be done, because they have to jump in and get things done, and they have to move ahead with the testing, right? So these are some common pitfalls or common challenges that people see while applying agile. There is another problem, I would say. A lot of companies find it difficult to adapt agile because of the names which are getting changed. Let's say, you earlier we used to call it as a uh, maybe we used to call it as a deployment phase or development phase. Now we are calling it as a sprint, and all the deployment, testing, and user testing, everything is concised within that. So changing from that understanding to a shorter period of time, and those names, Scrum, Scrum calls, all these things, retrospective. So all these things will definitely be effective. Akshita, I hope you got your answer.
Yes, Akshay.
Yeah. We have 2 minutes before we move on to the next segment. Uh, at 8:45 we'll move on to the next segment. Any more questions before that? Lakshmi? Yeah.
Given its fast-pacedness and continuous change, what kind of projects prefer agile methodology?
Okay. Projects where customer is demanding, projects where customers are not too patient to wait on results, or projects where customers are really needy. For example, let's say you have a healthcare app. There is an application called Practo. If you go on your Apple App Store, or in your Android store, you will have something called Practo. So if you look at that application, it gives you a feature to connect with doctors anytime, right? On a video call, you can connect with a doctor. You can even call and have a call with a doctor, and get your things done rather than going to a hospital. Now just imagine the kind of demand, the kind of users being needy for this process, for this feature. So anything happens to this app, anything happens to this app in the backend, and if any server is down, if app is down, that will affect those customers. So where customers are demanding, or where the need of the project, the subject of the project is critical, like trading, like healthcare, like military, like something related to security. So these kind of projects are most inclined towards using agile. Of course, we have most of our development projects using this, irrespective of what users demands are, but agile is something we definitely tend to apply to most of our projects, because it's fast, it gives faster results. I hope you got your answer, Lakshmi.